So if you've listened to episode 24 on the stern truth, have you lost the passion for your business? That was part one. Today, a few weeks later, we're really delving into part two of this. But it's a little bit different today because we have a special guest. It is a client of mine. She is part of my private business and life mastery coaching. Her name is Jessica. When Jessica came to me 8 months ago, she was ready to give up on her business. She was so done with her business. She was ready to sell it. Fast forward to today. You're going to hear her story and how she's actually rekindled that love, that passion for her business. And because she's an amazing bookkeeper and fractional CFO, she is going to give some hard truths, some golden nuggets that you're going to want to take note of. Grab a paper and pen and listen for those golden nuggets. Also, a quick reminder, don't forget, August 6th, it all starts, my friends. Come join us in the Entrepreneur, that's O-N, Entrepreneur Bonfire Series. Grab your s'mores, grab your guitar and your blanket, sit by our virtual bonfire. It's going to be amazing. It's 3 weeks. You can come to one of the bonfire events or all three. It's entirely up to you. All the details are in the show notes. Register your spot today. Anyways, on with this amazing part two with our special guest, Jessica. Enjoy. Hi, I'm Marshall Stern, and I've spent over 35 years leading and growing multiple small businesses. I know firsthand the struggles of entrepreneurship, feeling isolated, lonely, overwhelmed, and feeling like you have to do it all by yourself. I've been through multiple recessions, and I have felt the highs and the lows. I've been there, and I get it. This podcast is here to change that. Every week, I will bring you straight talking advice, real-world strategies, and honest conversations about what it takes to succeed in business without the fluff, the gimmicks, or the sugarcoating. If you're ready to stop spinning your wheels and start making real progress, then you are in the right place. This is the Stern Truth. All right, everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Stern Truth, Business Unfiltered. Now, today, my friends, we have a special guest. Not that my other guests aren't special, but this is a unique guest because this is a current client of mine, one of my coaching clients. I would like to introduce you to Jessica from your steel-toed bookkeeping, owner, founder, entrepreneur extraordinaire. Jessica, how are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks for asking. So we started working together, what, about 8 months ago?
Yeah.
Okay. What I want to do in this session, I want people, well, let me give the audience, give our listeners a quick little Cole's Notes version of who Jessica is and your company.
I started my company in 2014 because I was a stay-at-home mom and I needed to find another way to make some income while still working around children's schedules. So bookkeeping became a great idea for that. So I could work from home and still service and work with clients as I was doing all the work from home.
Nice. And you reached out to me back in, I think it was December. Where were you at with your business at that time?
So I reached out in late 2024 because I was just coming back off of being away from a maternity leave with my last child, and I had walked out of my business and left it in great hands. And in doing that, that meant that when I came back, I had no place in my business, which is great because everybody was taken care of. All my clients were well taken care of. All the stuff was happening. But then when I wanted to come back, there wasn't really a spot for me. And I didn't know what to do or how to do it. And I felt kind of obsolete at that point. And I didn't know if I should just sell the business, give it to my business partner who I was working with, or continue and work with it.
Would you say you were sort of kind of like almost done with the business, like you weren't really sure the path forward?
Oh, very much so. I had no idea where I was going to take this. I was feeling like I really didn't fit in my own business was really hard.
Mm.
And I was also kind of over the fact of like, do I want to keep running down this path? How do I fit myself back in here? I didn't also have the same passion for it at that time coming back into it as I did when I first started it. So I was really struggling with why would I keep doing this instead of pursuing something else at this time.
Right. And I get that. We talked about this before. I mean, in my one of my other businesses, I had at one point lost the passion for that business. And for a lot of business owners, I think it does sort of, it's like the roller coaster, entrepreneurial roller coaster ride, right? And there are sometimes we kind of lose passion and for different reasons. What, so what led you to us starting this journey we've been on for the last 7 months? Like really, what got you to say, I need, or did you need, like, what were you thinking when you decided to go out and hire a coach and mentor?
I didn't want to make the choice hastily to just hand over the business to the person who was currently running it. Because I had done this for 10 years. I built this business since 2014 and gotten it to where it was. I had, when I started that business, never thought it would get to that size and to where it is now and to the success that it is now. So I didn't want to just be like, oh, okay, give up on it and be done. So I knew I needed somebody else in the business world to come in and give me some great insight as to whether or not that was a smart decision. So I was looking online and you were posting in a Facebook group. So then I came into it and I started talking with you, and that's why I decided to start working with you.
And I'm glad you did. I think um, I think we've had some insights over the past 7 months.
Yes, quite a
Had
few.
some, I want to talk about some of those. We've had some fun too. We've had
Oh,
some good
yes.
conversation, right?
Yeah.
Uh, what would you say would be some of the biggest takeaways that you've had in our time working together?
Knowing that I'm absolutely not obsolete in my business and that the position that I'm currently in is actually extremely valuable. I set it up and unknowingly set it up so that I could be out and not have to be in it. They don't rely on me in it day to day. So that means that if I need to not be in it, it's okay. And I can go out and still acquire new business and still do things to help the business be in it in a different way, which is more the entrepreneur style that I should be trying to achieve. And it's been a lot nicer to achieve that style.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I remember in one of our earlier sessions, like at the beginning, I had even said to you, like, you are in a great position because you're not, as the Michael Gerber E-Myth, doing it, doing it, doing it. You're not in it, doing it, doing it, doing it, doing the books for the clients. You were actually, because you'd stepped away from it, you were in a perfect position to really be that visionary, be that leader that your business needs.
Yeah.
What other takeaways or insights do you think have come your way and have helped you to the point that you're at now?
I definitely didn't have confidence in myself either coming back into it. I used to run this business with a lot of confidence. And being off for a couple of years, I didn't have as much of that. And also with the whole change of how we do business now since COVID, that changed a lot of the dynamic for me. I was a very in-person type style person. And so going to people and seeing them, I loved doing that. I loved being in front of them, going for coffee, going to their office and having a talk or doing a once a month meeting face to face. That was my style. And when COVID hit and it changed all that, I felt like it was really hard for me to operate my business and I lost a lot of confidence. Being able to kind of gain some of that back, even though I might be doing meetings over Zoom more often because clients prefer that, or I still push and try. I do still try to do in-person meetings if they're willing to do that. I do prefer that. I feel like it's just an easier flow for me. But with technology the way it is, clients still sometimes prefer obviously a phone call or Zoom, and I will absolutely accommodate that. I just feel an in-person is just much nicer and you can have a better conversation, a smoother conversation, a less, for me, it's a less clinical conversation, I guess. I
Mhm.
get more personable and it just is easier for everybody to know who you're working with.
So for our listeners, people who might be sort of at similar stages to where you're at, maybe for different reasons, right? Maybe their business is just slow and they're tired of the grind, tired of like constantly trying to get clients and or maybe doing the wrong activities. There's all sorts of reasons why we lose passion, and I've been talking about that in other episodes, and I'll continue to talk about it. Um, What would you say other challenges you've faced, whether it's we've worked through it, we've worked through a lot of different areas, or not, other challenges that you see either for yourself or you see other people sort of go through?
One of the challenges was how do I get back into gaining a few new clients? We don't take a lot of clients every year. That's not a big thing for us. We try to keep ourselves a smaller base so we get to know our clients really well. However, we did have some space come available, and so we were looking at getting a few new clients. I've always done that by just letting a few people know we were taking clients, and I usually get several people kind of calling in or emailing and being like, hey, we'd love to have your services. That's not the case anymore, once again, because I'm not out there, I'm not having these conversations, I'm not seeing people like I used to. So starting on the marketing journey of trying to do that, and playing that role that I've never played before. I'm not a social media person, and having to start creating social media, putting it onto these accounts, and learning that whole process. It's difficult, but once you iron it out, it's somewhat of a mental challenge, but it's kind of a cool mental game I've learned to play with myself, where I will actually sit down and make content and be like, how many can I do today in this much time? And what can I come up with? And I've gotten some great softwares to put together and how to make it easier for myself. And I'm always just playing around with it a bit to see how I can make it work better for myself and easier for
Hmm.
myself. And it's not something I'm strong at, and eventually I will hire somebody else to do it. However, at this time, financially, my business isn't in a situation where I can push out hundreds of dollars a month necessarily towards marketing. It just doesn't quite make sense. I really do, obviously being a bookkeeper, look at the dollars and cents value
Hmm.
of things, and that didn't make sense to do it that way and spend the money there when I can spend it in other places and other improving places.
And we're working on that, right?
Oh
So our
yeah.
our time together is not completely up. So
No.
we are gonna work on that. If it's something, here's the thing, and this goes for you and for our millions of listeners. One day we can dream. Um, we need to focus on the activities, and I talk about this, I have my business energy reset audit and all this other stuff. Really believe we need to focus on the activities that not only energize us rather than drain us. So we want to get rid of the drains, as many of them as possible, but we also want to focus on activities that energize us, but that we're also good at. And there's a fine line. Some of them we're good at, but they drain us. Some of them we love, but we're not so good at it. So it energizes, but we're not so good at it. But ultimately, revenue generating activities, I think, is one of the things that most small business, not most, a large majority of small business owners fail to focus on, right? I remember I was at a business conference years ago and they did a stat and I looked it up and I think it's pretty close. It's like 80% small business owners focus 80% on the admin and everything else and 20% on revenue generating. And it needs to be flipped, right?
Yeah.
And that's not overnight. It's a process, depending on where you are. But yeah, what would you say? So working with me, we're having a coach and a mentor, a guide. What would you say would be, um, and I'm not trying to sell myself because I think everyone should have one and it could be someone else. There's some really good people out there and it has to be a fit, right?
Oh yeah.
Um, what would you say would be the real benefit for you of having, you know, someone like me in your lineup?
So for me, it's been having someone that's in the business world that I can use as a sounding board frequently. That's been huge. I know people in the business world, but it's not that they're busy, and they're not necessarily accessible weekly or frequently enough that I can be sending some information to and be like, hey, what do you think of this? There's been a couple times where we're in a session and I'm like, I'm thinking about doing this, but it's going to cost me this much. And I'm really on the fence about it. And we discuss it. And by the end of our session, it makes sense to either do it or not do it. I know in the past I made one really big mistake. I would never make it again. I actually wrote about it on LinkedIn where I hired a person, but I used a hiring agency. and I paid a large fee to that hiring agency. And the person that I hired ended up not being who they should have been. It turned out really badly. I would never outsource that as quickly
Mhm.
as I did ever again. Now, I feel like if I had had someone in a business situation, like a business coach or in the business world where I could have soundboarded that, I may have made a better decision and not so hastily gone down that road.
Mhm.
It was, yeah. So definitely helping make better decisions on a day-to-day basis, but also making me feel like, yeah, you can do this. You're not in a situation where, like, I'm not losing money in any situation in this business. So there's not like I'm needing to close the doors. We're not sitting here telling me to keep the doors open as I'm losing $50,000 a year in any way. So you're not sitting here giving bad advice in any way. You're helping me
Right.
keep the doors open. It is making money. It's a good business. It was just me sitting here going, well, do I want to get back into it or not? And helping me make those decisions, but not forcing it one way or the other.
No, I like that. So would you say now, I mean, 7 months later, that passion for the business is back?
Oh yeah. Yeah. No, I do I absolutely enjoy working in it, and I enjoy working it in the new method that I am working in it. And it was a little bit difficult at the beginning trying to find a groove, but now I've found a groove,
Mhm.
and my staff have kind of figured out what I'm doing as well. That took a few moments for them to kind of be like, okay, catch up. What are you doing? It didn't interfere with what they were doing. It was just them learning what they could rely on me to do and what I needed them to do, those types of things. But really, yeah, it's been awesome to get back into it.
I love that because I find that too many people try to go at it alone. And I mean, I guess it's a natural, um, I mean, we're only human, so we try to do it ourselves, right? Um, but if people can just step back and whether it's a coach or mentor or accountability partner, which can work, or just surrounding yourself with a group of other entrepreneurs who will tell you the stern truths, right? They're not going to sugarcoat it because that's the other thing. Like, I'm not a cheerleader. I'm sorry. I'm not a blind cheerleader, right? I will
Yeah.
not say I will not just like say, you go, girl, you've got this, you and your business, you go, you got it, you've got it. Because if I don't think you have it, then I'm going to tell you that.
Yeah, no, we've had some hard
Yeah,
conversations.
yeah. And I think that's the thing. I think that's the hard conversation we have to have with ourselves as well. So speaking of hard conversations, um, what do you think separates? This is a big question, so you can think about it for a second if you want. But you're in Here's the thing. I know one of the biggest challenges the small business owners have is um, they're ignorant when it comes to their numbers. And they need someone like you and your company to help them guide them through it because they don't know. They don't know what COGS is. They don't know what net profit, gross profit, like they think they do. They think revenue and income is the same thing, and they're just not sure, right? They just go at it and hope and pray. Um, and I might have given it away. But what do you think separates those small business owners and entrepreneurs who are on the path to real, true success? And success, I don't mean just financial success, building the business that they dream of, that they want, from those who struggle.
You kind of gave it away a little bit, but the reality is it's no different than when, if you talk to any financial expert, whether it's for your personal finances or your business finances, if you do not have a budget, you're pretty much planning to fail.
Mhm.
You need to have a budget. So, in order to have a budget, you need to know what your cash flow is. You need to know what your financial position is. I have clients who come to us that need almost every single day, we need to go over cash flow with them. And that's okay. That's what we're here for. We are here to help them over those humps where sometimes cash flow is so tight. So we need to talk about how are we going to make these payroll? How are we going to make this next coming up remittance for GST or WorkSafe or whatever it is that's coming through? We are here to help you with that. And that's what we do. And you have this, and it's the same. You have some people who just don't want to face it, I guess, is really the
Mhm.
reality of it. And that becomes really difficult. And that's when you get people who get themselves into a really big hole. And then once you get into that hole, it's a lot harder to get out of it. So facing it is
Yeah.
scary. I won't lie, it is absolutely scary for most people to face their finances. But the quicker you face it, the quicker we can actually get you back above. You're just keeping your head above water. We want you
Hmm.
like swim it. I want you to be the client that I look at and close to your year end and say, hey, actually, you've got about like $40,000 that you could go spend and go buy something so that you might want to lower your tax implications for the end of the year if you'd like, if you need that new piece of machinery or whatever it is that you need to invest in, now might be the right time to go purchase that. We keep tabs on that for our clients. We help them get through those points in their situations.
So what you said, everything you've been talking about definitely resonates with me because I myself, um, admission time, I myself have dug that hole for myself in my business. Many years ago, I thought things would change. I had a hope and a pray, or a prayer and a hope. That's what it is, prayer and hope, hope and a prayer. Um, And I thought in my sign company, my graphics business, I thought, oh yeah, it's going to turn around. It's going to turn around. It's going to be fine. It'll be fine. It'll be fine. But I didn't do anything different. And instead, I ended up going deeper and deeper and deeper. And I thought, okay, I'll just get this loan. This will be okay. This will cover it. No problem. With not a plan to repay it, like fully, just like, okay, I'm investing in my business, right? And you justify it. And I know, and this sort of also, I know and if people are out there, I want them to know there's no shame in struggling. There's no
No, it
sh
happens all the time.
there's
It's more than you think.
I know,
It is so much more than everybody thinks.
but I want people to know there's no shame in struggling and there's no shame in realizing you need help. And I'm not talking about like with a business coach or a mentor, that's one thing, but maybe someone like yourself, right? Someone who can help them with the numbers. There's no shame in that. Where there is shame is how I operated for a little while, a long time ago, where I had my head buried in the sand. That was shameful because I didn't know that I knew deep down, but it was scary. And I thought things were fine, and I thought things were going to turn around and get better, and then they didn't, right? And then finally, when I realized it, wasn't too late, thankfully. You said it right. Like it's so quick to go down, like to go into debt and line of credit and loans and whatever. It's so easy to go into it. It takes a long time to come out of it, but you need to have a plan at least. And you need to get people on your team who will help you get there and
Yeah.
not be so alone because it can be very, very lonely.
Well, also, you may not also know all the resources out there. There's a lot of government grants that people don't know about.
Yeah. Yeah.
I have one client that we get government grants for frequently, and they get tens of thousands of dollars a year, tens of thousands of dollars from government grants. That's free money
Yeah.
just for filling out some paperwork. It's all legit. It's all from the government. There's nothing shady about it. It is literally money the government is trying to give away in these programs. And people don't know about them because they're not necessarily easily accessible to find, but
Mm.
we know about them. That's what we do. We help our clients apply for these so they can help offset their costs in some ways. So there's also
Oh, wow.
those situations as well. So that maybe a loan isn't necessarily the right path. You might have a grant that you could qualify for that can help offset some of this cash flow tightness as well.
Cash flow. Don't we love cash flow? For all you business owners out there who think it'll be okay, it's okay. So I think I told you the story I went to. I won't mention the financial institution. I went to a board of trade or a chamber of commerce event several years ago, and this was when I was going through my struggles. And it was about cash flow management, and it was like I think the topic was uh, the number one thing you can do to improve your cash flow. So it was packed, like it was a whole chamber event like a business after business kind of trade show, but then they had these breakout sessions, these little seminars. And this seminar, the room was just packed. And I stood there, and it was a financial institution that was leading the seminar, had no idea at the time. And they got up, and you know what they were selling? You know what their tip, sorry, you know what their tip was? Get their Master or Visa or MasterCard or whatever it was. Rather than paying your vendors right away with your hard-earned money, charge it. Charge it. What? Charge it, put it on a credit card, get points, get cash back because they had a 1% cash back thing or travel points or whatever. And there's nothing wrong with that. Travel and cash back is great, but that was their idea of managing cash flow, improving cash flow. Put it off for another month.
Yeah.
Or in there, what they really wanted was put it off for several months and just pay the interest. That's what really they wanted, because that's how they get rich.
Yep.
That's how their cash flow goes up and ours goes down.
Absolutely.
And as they started to talk about that, the room started to empty out. That is the worst. I mean, I'm the one, you're the expert, but would you suggest that as a good strategy, cash flow management strategy?
No, no, that's last resort is debt, in that sense.
Yeah.
There is some good debt to have, but that is not it.
Yeah.
And yeah,
Okay, let's touch on that for a second. What would you say would be good debt to have?
it really depends on the business and the situation you're in financially.
Okay.
Um, there is so many variables for tax purposes, and if you're in a financial situation that can handle it, usually we suggest that your vehicles are not purchased outright necessarily. For a while, electric vehicles purchased outright were a full write-off per year, and that was fine. They are no longer that way. They've changed how that's being done. However, the way that they do vehicle write-offs, it doesn't make sense to purchase them necessarily, and sometimes it makes more sense to even lease them. So it's everyone's situation is different.
Right.
This is when we do sometimes pull in on the accountant depending on certain situations. There is always, and this is the variables we look at it,
Right.
and we always have, like I have a company and it makes the most sense for that company to lease most of their equipment. Their accountant has looked at it. For them, for tax purposes, it makes the most sense and maintenance purposes to lease their equipment, except for one piece of equipment. He says you need to buy that one. Honestly, I couldn't tell you the exact reason why the accountant has chosen that specific piece of equipment. I don't fully understand that part of it. He couldn't quite explain it, but he made this choice. So we said, okay, there are certain things that, like, if the accountant says this and we are, like, we don't usually argue, we don't argue with the accountants. Let's go with that. Unless we really deem that there is something that we are like, we need a second accountant in on this one. We trust that accountant. We've used them lots of times. We know that they're very well versed in what they're doing. This one was a little peculiar, but the situation, but he knew what he was talking about. But yeah, so most of the time it's a dependent on person situation.
I'm going to switch gears now. We have a few minutes left, but I want to switch gears. Tell me the importance of having a strong team around you.
That is the utmost importance. I couldn't fathom not having it. Like my team that I have, I was really sick back in March and none of my clients knew I was off work because I was like, the team just picks it up. When my other team members are going to be away or whatever, we pick it up, we do it. So as much as I don't have to work in the business, I am able to work in the business when they want to go take vacation or they need to be off for whatever reason. We really have a strong teamwork ethic. Although we are all remote workers, we are all remote in BC. So we're on the same time, Pacific Standard Time. We work really well together. We have teams talking in the background. It is constant back and forth. We have great communication. We talk every day. It's really important. If your team isn't in continuity with each other, that's not going to work in the grand scheme of things in any business, in my opinion. I think that that's going to be a really big push to try and have a successful company with a team that's at each other.
Yeah, team is everything. And one of the things, and you've built your business this way, like I built my business, my sign company when I started it, I built it with a team. Otherwise, I would have been there making the signs. But I was taught a lesson early on. I've talked about it on the podcast before. Where I had an employee, I told you the story, I had an employee like one of the first few days in, see me at the table, at the production table. He said, "What are you doing here?" And I said, "I'm making the sign." He goes, "No, no, you owner, me, you say you owner, me worker. I make the signs. You sell them, I make them. Go out and
Yeah.
sell. Go out and sell." And that was one of the last times I ever made a sign, which was like the first few days into the business, right? It's not the same for a lot of us, especially in the service-based businesses. You're doing the service, like as a coach, I'm delivering the service. I don't ever want to be having someone else delivering my service as a coach, because it's me.
Yeah.
But there's ways to groups and all that stuff where you bring in more people, you can serve more people. Tell me, Jessica, what would you say to your younger self? Not that you're old, but when you're first starting out, something that you know now that you maybe wish you had known at the beginning.
Build out the processes sooner.
Mm,
So the back end processes, build them out sooner. It's a lot harder to build it out mid process, like mid company, I guess is the best way to put it.
yeah.
Although like that's like six of one, half a dozen of the other. It's kind of hard because you don't know what you're going to run to. Like I never thought this business would get this big. I did never thought I'd have employees. I thought it was always just going to be me doing my small little bookkeeping company. And then it just grew and clients were happy and they brought more clients and their companies grew and it just became a bigger thing. So I would say plan for growth, build out your back end processes, and make sure that you have a project management software of some sort in the background of basically if what we call in our company the hit by a bus theory. If
Mm,
you get hit by a bus, is somebody gonna be able to look up and figure out what's going on? And that's like our and in our company that's how we have it. It took us a little bit longer than I'd like to get to that point, but we got there. And it
mm.
would have been easier if I had started with it that way.
So, like I've mentioned before in this on the podcast and probably with you as well in our sessions, um, my father was all about getting one gold nugget, one takeaway from seeing a speaker, reading a book, listening to, well, there weren't podcasts back then, whatever. It wasn't YouTube, listening to a cassette tape, of personal development or business development, one gold nugget. You've given many. And I just want to mention the last two that you threw out there. And I want people to really listen to what you said. Okay. And again, I'm going to put your info, if you're okay with it, in the show notes. If people want to get in touch with you, they might have questions about how to work with you. I know you don't take on a lot of clients, or about the government opportunities. Maybe you can have a chat. We'll see. I'll put it in there and people can reach out to you. But you mentioned two things, and I want everyone to hear this. I might have to bring you back to talk about this further. Plan for growth and build out your processes. To, like my friends, talking to everyone else now, that's it. That is gold. Because too many times, and I know you might be sitting there, you might be thinking, this is where I'm at right now in my business. And eventually I'll get to maybe this point and whatever. But we don't really plan for growth. And Jessica, like I like to look at a 2 to 3 year plan. Where do you want to be? What's your why and what's your what? What's your what 2 to 3 years up down the road? And then let's reverse engineer and get there. But too many people just don't think of the future, especially those who transition from, let's say, a bookkeeper for XYZ company, and they say, oh, I'm sick of working for this company. I'm going to go start my own bookkeeping firm. And it's going to be me. And then you're not really thinking about growth. It's just you take it day by day, day by day. You're basically an employee. Plan for growth. Because if you don't, you just will stay where you are.
Yeah.
And yeah, like that's magic. Because if you plan for growth, become, act like, I always say, like, act like the person you want, person meaning business leader that you want to become. You're already there. What does that look like? Because we get too stuck in where we are currently at. And that might not be where we want to be in a year or 2 or 3 years. So be the person you want to become. Why wait?
No, exactly.
Right? Why wait? And same thing, businesses, if you're struggling financially, you're confused and you're that whole debt or the cash flow talk, kind of hit you hard, right? There's a better way. Maybe reach out to Jessica. Um, just focus on your numbers, my friends. Like look at the numbers, see you, and it doesn't, if you're scared, acknowledge it and get help, right?
I agree. 100%. It's better to acknowledge it than to hide from it. Even in a simple Excel spreadsheet, it's still better than nothing.
I'm going to give the stern truth here. This is the stern truth for today. It ain't going away.
No.
It ain't going away. You can go close your eyes and grab a pizza, and go home and watch Netflix and think tomorrow's a new day. It'll be all better. I'm telling you, it's not. That's why there's too much information out there. There's no lack of information, There's no lack of podcasts, except for this one. This one needs to be seen by more and heard by more. Um, but there's no lack of information. YouTube, everything's out there. What there is a lack of implementation. Learn it, do it, take action, and plan for growth. And it's going to be different for everyone, right? Wow. This has been awesome. Any parting words of wisdom, golden nuggets you'd like to share with our listeners?
No, you've captured it quite well. Just get a hold of your cash flow. That's going to be one of your most important things, to understand your books, and make sure you understand them. That's really the biggest part. Understand them. And if you don't understand them, whoever is doing it with you should be able to sit down with you and show you what you need to know, and make it in a way that you understand it. Your
Yeah.
bookkeeper should be considered like a nurse is to a doctor. So when you go in for care and your doctor's saying something and you don't understand what they're saying, the nurse usually can bring it down to a level that we understand as non-doctors. Well, your bookkeeper should be able to help you do that as well. We provide custom reports to our clients that they're requesting so they understand things. We provide reports to one client that's basically all the receipts that they're missing that they never sent us at the end of the month. We have one client that requests that so they can go find all those receipts. It's as
Yeah.
simple as that. Your bookkeeper should be working with you and for you, never against you. Do not have a bookkeeper working against you. That is counterproductive, and it should never be that way.
Yeah. No, here, 100%. Um, one last question for you,
Yep.
because we know the financial part of our business can be scary. What about beliefs, limiting beliefs, imposter syndrome? Um, you work with a lot of businesses, small and medium size, maybe some larger size. Do you think, do you ever come across, does that ever rear its ugly head with you?
Like clients that believe that they can't do it.
No, I'm actually, well, your clients, or like for you, actually, just yourself, like your own limiting beliefs or imposter syndrome as a leader of your own business.
I don't take on clients I don't think I can help. So
Okay.
for me, no. If I don't believe I'm going to be helpful to someone, I won't take that client on. We don't work with anybody in e-commerce. Let's just call it that right there, easily
Mm,
enough. I immediately push that out. There's no way. We don't have enough knowledge in e-commerce to be a successful bookkeeper for someone in e-commerce.
yeah.
It's not something we've ever delved into. And I don't want to hurt somebody's business by saying we can do this when I know truthfully we don't know enough about it to do it to the extent that I would like to provide for them.
Right.
I know that I can do it really well for construction, marketing, a couple other manufacturing and such like that. But to be fair, like e-commerce is definitely one I've full stop said no on, but I'm happy to find somebody or give people information about what you should look for in a bookkeeper. I've done that before. When people ask for an e-commerce bookkeeper, I'm like, hey, just look for these things. You know, yeah, I will
Yeah.
always say we're just not the right fit before I ever sit there and go, I'm a little nervous about this. If I'm nervous, we're not doing it because this
Uh,
is too important. I
yeah.
can't screw this up for them. So if I'm not okay with it or if I'm not confident in it, I just won't do it.
Yeah. That's awesome. No, I love that. And I always say to my clients, and you know this, and even in the podcast, like we need to work within your genius zone with whatever it is that we do, our service or our product, and work with people that actually we enjoy working with and we can really serve powerfully. Because life is short, right? And there's 24 hours in a day. Why do you want to spend 10, 8, 6, 12, 4, whatever hours working with people that drain you or projects that drain you? We want to be a little bit more selective. I know at the beginning you got to kind of find your way, but you find your way pretty quick.
Oh, you do. I did a restaurant once and we did it really well. Learned that's not the place I want to do it. And now I have a bookkeeper I know that I refer those restaurants to.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he will do it a million times faster and better than I will. Like I can still do it, but it's just not our forte. So why it just doesn't make sense to keep on a path that isn't going to help anybody.
Yep. Yep. When I had my sign company, people would come just for vehicle wraps, like full wraps. And I knew the guys down the street or the guys in the city next to us did it. That was their job. They were like full time. They were wrap guys. Actually, one of them is called the wrap guys. And it's like they did it half the time and definitely less for a better price, because that's all they did every day, all the time. Whereas we maybe did a wrap like once every 6-7 months, like a full wrap I'm talking about. It just didn't make sense. And it was so intricate. They were the experts. So just say, go to them.
Yeah.
Right. And we stuck to what we did well. So, okay. Talked about a lot of different things here. I'll put your stuff in the show notes so people can get in touch with you if they would like to. Jessica, this has been awesome.
Thank you very much, Marshall.
And for all of you who have enjoyed this episode, of course, we'd love to hear the feedback. Share it, talk to your friends, tell your friends about it, tell your friends about Jessica. And I guess really the whole well, aside for planning for growth, is just don't do this alone. I think the whole theme of today is, regardless of where you're at in your business, if you're feeling a little bit isolated, a little bit alone, reach out, whether it's to someone like Jessica or myself, or people like us, other business owners, network, connect with people, entrepreneurs, and you don't have to go through all of this by yourself. I do commend you if you are a business owner and entrepreneur and you've got that spirit, but if you're frustrated and lacking in passion right now, right? My suggestion to you is this, and I've talked about this before, I'll talk about it again. Look at why you started the business and what you want to create for yourself, for your life, 2-3 years down the road. But really look at why you started, because sometimes we forget why we started, and that kind of brings us back home. Anyways, I've spoken way too much. We'll have to have you back, Jessica.
Sounds good.
And for everyone else, hit the subscribe button, all that kind of stuff, and reach out to Jessica. Have a great week, and we'll see you again next week in another episode of The Stern Truth Business Unfiltered. Thank you so much for tuning in to The Stern Truth. If you found today's episode helpful, we would love to hear from you. Please like, share, and leave us a review. Also, if you'd like to be a guest in an upcoming episode or join us in one of our Momentum Accountability Group sessions, simply email me to marshall@marshallstern.net. That's marshallstern.net. And don't forget to hit the subscribe button so you never miss an episode. Until next time, keep pushing forward and leading with confidence.